Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes.
This episode is sponsored by Fabian Oil, a family-owned and operated business that offers heating oil and propane delivery, services, and repairs. Fabian has been serving central and northern Maine with propane and oil for over 30 years. As a local Maine business, they cherish the relationships they have formed by serving the people of their communities. In 2019, Fabian entered the southern Maine region with a heating oil acquisition, and they have recently brought propane to the market. They are aggressive and would love to be your supplier. Give them a call at 207-793-2044 or visit fabianoil.com.
In this episode, we'll be talking with Lauren and Valerie Feghali from NXGen Fitness Center in Scarborough. Lauren is a personal trainer and a front desk supervisor at NXGen and a welcoming face to all. She's a certified personal trainer by the National Academy of Sports Medicine and graduated with a BS in exercise science from Lasell University. Lauren is a natural helper, and being able to motivate and inspire others on a journey to finding new levels of fitness is her goal. Valerie is a certified holistic health coach and certified in holistic nutrition. She's also worked for almost 10 years as a doctor of physical therapy. However, over time working in the health field, she has recognized a huge gap in the healthcare model, that being nutrition and lifestyle coaching. She now takes on health coaching clients to improve their diet, help them manage their stress, and guide them to finding purpose in their everyday life. So welcome to the show, Lauren and Valerie. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
So excited to be here. Yeah, thank you guys both for having us on.
Happy New Year. I'm so excited about this episode because, it's starting off the new year and people are, really focused this time of year on their health and wellness. And so it's really great to have you guys on here and to really give people some ideas starting off the new year, what they can do on their fitness journey. So, one of the questions I had is, what would be some general advice that you would give someone starting out on their fitness journey?
Yeah, so my biggest starting point is always starting small and then building up. And so honestly, very simply, I like to start with water, sleep, and walking / movement. Those are very essential to our health, and people will very easily underestimate those things. So getting those down and then building up from there, once you can achieve, the right amount of water intake, hours of sleep, and just moving about 30 minutes each day, incorporating an extra workout or going to the gym, adding that into your routine is really where I like to start with most people, especially if you've never been in the gym atmosphere. Yeah. So essentially just starting on that fitness journey, getting there is the first thing, getting those things down, and then joining a gym if you feel comfortable. I know it's kind of hard with the pandemic right now, but procedures are in place. And at our gym, we actually do a free consultation with every new member. And so that's where you get to meet with a personal trainer and really establish what you're wanting to achieve. And that's also obviously a great starting point. If you have no idea what you're doing, helps you get a little bit more comfortable, helps you get started off on the right foot and maybe not feel so intimidated. But yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And that just sounds, that's great. Water, sleep, walking. It sounds simple enough that, I could even do that.
I just want to let you know, because Kim was so excited for this that actually, as she was saying hello to you, she was doing a little clap here.
Amazing.
And she had us up at like 5 a.m. this morning, out running a 5. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
That would set you off on a good foot.
But that's good. It's just, you don't get overwhelmed that way. So I really appreciate that simplicity. And one of the questions I have is, how do you determine, like, for instance, the water intake piece? How do you determine something like that? How much water you should be drinking a day?
So yeah, when it comes to water intake, one of the general suggestions is to have half of your body weight in ounces. So, if you weigh 120 pounds, you'd have 60 ounces of water a day. That's a really general advice. So if someone who's very overweight, of course, can't keep up with that intake. But, there's also the general 8 ounces a day as well, 8 glasses of water a day, which is a great place to start. Some people don't need quite that much, and some people can certainly have more. But water helps with so many things. We can't function without adequate water intake. So it helps us with weight loss. It helps us with brain clarity and mental clarity. So it's certainly something that we should take into consideration. And when we're having any sort of sugar craving, start with water, because oftentimes it's a sign of dehydration. So getting that water in, being hydrated throughout the day can really set you up for success.
One question I have, and because I swore I would not join the seltzer revolution, but somehow now here I am. And is it okay? Is seltzer kind of count towards that, or is it just, flat regular water that you're really looking for in those ounces?
No, seltzer can count towards that. Regular water, of course, is going to be your best thing to have. However, if you're having seltzer water, especially if it's just plain seltzer water and you're putting your own flavorings in it, so if you have a lemon or lime that you're squeezing into it, that can be great for you. But if you're buying stuff that has added sugars, especially artificial sweeteners, that can be, detrimental to your health. So just, weigh the pros and the cons. If you're someone who just doesn't like plain water and has a really hard time getting it in, having some of that seltzer water with, some light flavoring or your own flavoring, even better, can be helpful.
That's good.
Good to know.
So, Valerie, what would you say is your general advice that you would give someone just starting out on their fitness journey?
Yeah, so I would ditto Lauren, everything she said, and definitely starting small is one of the big things I always say as well. Pick a 20-minute workout. You don't need to set a 45-minute time limit or feel like an hour is what you need to get a good workout in. 20 minutes of, a good intensity workout can be plenty of time. And then also set a schedule. So every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m., I'm going to do a 20-minute workout. And having that schedule and sticking to it can be really crucial for, building a routine to success. And then also start with something you enjoy. So if you hate running, don't start with running, right? Because then you're going to be discouraged. So really start with something that you like to do and keep with it. If you like to go biking, if you like to swim, do yoga, dance, pick something that you are going to enjoy and get excited about participating in.
That's great. Yeah.
That's solid. That's why I'm gonna start dancing.
There you go.
Because
I can
love
see that. Yeah.
You never dance.
I know. That's the reason I was always in a band, is so that I wouldn't have to dance.
Well, we have Zumba at the gym if you want to come join.
There you go, Todd.
Oh, no. If I'm going to do that,
nobody wants to see that.
There would be a peeping Tom outside. They'd break in and pull the blinds down.
That's awesome.
Nobody needs to see that. Nobody needs to see that.
Source of entertainment is always good.
That was far too much confession for this morning. Let's get back to the questions. So, Lauren, when you're working with somebody just starting out, or even someone who is kind of maybe intermediate, has been to the gym before and all that, how do you help people with motivation and focus when it comes to their fitness goals?
Yeah, so that is obviously a huge, huge part of continuing with what you're doing. So, like I said, the first part is getting there, and now it's the part of sticking to it. And Valerie just touched on this, which is, finding something that you really enjoy. And even deeper than that, I like to identify your why. So why is it that you want to lose this weight? Why is it that you want to be healthier? So just kind of digging in. And sometimes this can be even getting vulnerable with people, but ultimately that's going to find what fuels them. And then also writing that down, just so that you're seeing, why really do I want to lose this weight? Is it because I just want to get healthier? Is it because I want to hit this goal? But why do you want to hit that goal? And just having that accountability is important. So like I said, that writing it down and looking at it every day is going to keep you motivated in that goal. But yeah, so I'm essentially just kind of other people's accountability and that reminder sometimes that as you routinely do something, the easier it becomes. And that's also with anything. The more you wake up at 5 a.m., the easier it's going to get. It's the same with working out, and maybe it's just getting in that 30 minutes of walking, but the more you do it every day, the easier it's going to get. So it's just being that reminder that, it's not easy to start. nothing's ever really that easy to start. And if it is, maybe that means you need to bump it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so with the motivation piece, it's really just intrinsically looking into yourself and realizing why you want to achieve these things.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really, that's
Makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. So my question for you, Valerie, is what do you feel are the most important aspects of building a healthy lifestyle?
So I believe in the 6 pillars of health, and they're all equally as important as the next because they really feed into each other. So to be in good health is way more than just what your blood work shows or how you look, although people do get so wrapped up in those numbers and the aesthetics. But of course, nutrition and exercise are certainly 2 of those 6 pillars. A clean and well-balanced diet is crucial. Getting the right amount of exercise in, especially strength training where you're building skeletal muscle, that has a profound effect on bone density, weight management, hormone balance, and really so much more that all reduce the effects of aging and promote good health in general. But more than that, stress management. So we can't eliminate stress, nor would we really want to, but we can help to balance stress and turn this into something that really works in our favor. So finding ways to manage our stress and reframe our outlook on stress is important. And then sleep, Lauren touched briefly on sleep, it is so crucial. Our body needs that recovery time. This is when we release human growth hormone and that repair and rebuilding happens. So not all sleep is created equal. The quality really does matter. And there are so many simple things that we can do to improve our sleep. So we can reduce our screen time. We can use blue light blockers if we're working on the computer late into the afternoon. We can get exposure to natural sunlight early in the morning to set our circadian clock and so much more. So sleep really is crucial. Human connection is probably the most important pillar of health. That's really what makes us human. So that positive social interaction is essential to a healthy and happy life. And believe it or not, it even improves the biodiversity of our gut. So every time you hug somebody, you're trading bugs, right? So healthy bugs. So even they say people who travel a lot have a really diverse gut microbiome because they've been exposed to so many different things. And that improves their immunity. It improves their ability to maintain a healthy weight and so much more. And then the last pillar would be purpose. So, Lauren, again, kind of touched upon this in terms of what motivates people, but what's your purpose? What drives you? What motivates you? And how can you really tap into that? And finding out what that is, what your purpose in life is kind of the key to a healthy lifestyle.
I love that. I love everything you said. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to tell my daughter she has to give me more hugs so she can have healthy bugs.
Can you tell we have a teenager?
Well, yeah. I have little babies and they talk so much about skin to skin time, right? As a new mother. So yeah, when you first have a child, that it's really important to have, the child naked and have them on your bare chest to trade bugs so that they create this healthy microbiome that really sustains them throughout their entire life.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. I've never thought of it or heard it put that way,
Yeah.
So I feel just like I've just learned so much in that last minute.
There you go. Glad
Which is really the reason why we do this podcast is we're just trying to smarten ourselves up.
We're trying to become
for
smarter.
your own benefit. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully other people take something away from it, but it is kind of selfish. I'll admit.
These are questions that you want to know.
Yeah, 23 episodes in, we might as well let the cat out of the bag. That's what it's all about. So Lauren, I have a question for you, and it's kind of funny, but also I've always felt like you can learn something from anybody, and even if, and especially if sometimes it's what not to do. So what are some of the mistakes or the biggest mistakes you've seen in people's fitness journey or just in how they approach fitness, and how can other people avoid those?
Yeah, so you're so right. Just about learning from others. And I've definitely been there as well. I've made those mistakes. But so it all goes back to that starting small. So very often people will start with these big goals or put too much pressure and expectations on themselves. Oh, I'm going to bench press this much, or I'm going to work out 6 days a week when they've very recently worked out 0 days a week. And it's just being realistic. That's the biggest mistake, is people become unrealistic and they just want to kind of be at the goal immediately, and just reminding yourself that results take time. Progress takes time, and it's never going to be a linear journey. It's always going to be up, down, and everywhere. So yeah, just don't put too much pressure on yourself, really. It's kind of simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been guilty of that before, and thinking, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." And then a week later I'm like, "Oh, I was supposed to like be at the gym." And
Right,
I'm not.
right. And that can be kind of not embarrassing is not the right word, but just like defeating, being like, "Oh, well, I
Yeah.
didn't do it now, so, why would I try it again?"
Yeah.
But yeah.
That makes sense. That makes total sense.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of like just starting off, I mean, obviously after you kind of get through the three basics, the sleep, the water, and just basic movement, I mean, do you kind of encourage people to start off like, hey, just 1 day a week or 3 days a week? I mean, is there kind of or does it depend on the individual?
Right. It will kind of depend on the individual and their own schedule. And that's the other key piece of writing it down. And like Valerie said, having a plan. So, seeing what days you can come to the gym, adding that in when you can. But, if it is just that walk once a day, that's totally cool with starting there, and then adding one workout a week and just building up. Because once you find the time and you start liking it, you're going to start prioritizing it. So it becomes a
Yes.
little bit easier.
Yeah. That is true. Like as soon as it becomes either fun or not a drag, it becomes a little bit easier to say, "Oh, let me put that on the schedule."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so guilty of that. I think for the last month I've said, I'm going to hop on the treadmill and I'm going to do it 5 days this week. I think I've done it twice in the last month. Yeah. It's just, that's what I do is I set these big lofty goals. I don't keep it small. And then you feel defeated. It's so true. So it's like, I need to start. Okay. After today.
Oh
I'm
boy,
starting
Kim, come on. Now let's not start publicizing these things. It's just,
I know. Now you really put the pressure on yourself.
Right.
Everybody listening is going to hold you to it.
that's like against everything that Lauren and Valerie just kind of said. I thought we were smartening up, and we're not.
We're going to start small. I'm going to.
Okay, we'll talk about
We're
this
gonna
after
start small.
off air.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
We'll have this discussion later.
Valerie, what are some of the ways we can all change the way we eat to improve our health?
So yeah, we can all do a little bit better, right? No matter what our diet looks like, but really starting to focus on whole foods would be where I start with most people. So what I mean by this is, what does your food look like in nature? People, start calorie counting and when they want to improve their diet, and it's really not about the amount of calories you take in. It's about the quality of the calories that you take in. So this really makes the biggest impact on our ability to manage our weight. So if we're just thinking, calories were first discovered when they, burned a piece of food, and however long it took to burn it is how many calories were in that food, right? Our body is not an inferno. It completely ignores the complexity of the human body, and it's so much more than that. So, things to keep in mind are whatever you put into your body are the building blocks that you are giving your body to rebuild and to flourish. So a balanced meal would be comprised of clean protein, healthy fats, and fibrous carbohydrates. So yes, a grass-fed burger is much better than a grain-fed burger. And it's the same for the animals. They are what they eat, just like we are what we eat. So a grass-fed burger has been shown to have up to 5 times the omega-3 fatty acids, which are so good for us compared to a grain-fed burger. So we want to go for quality in our meats, in our vegetables, everywhere. And then you also want to think about common sense. So when you're looking at a package and it says heart healthy or it says all natural, those are marketing scams. So those don't have any backing behind them. They don't have any restrictions or regulations behind them. You can go ahead and put that right back on the shelf. Now, a cucumber, a sweet potato, or an apple doesn't need to have a label. We already know that it's healthy, right? So those are the things that we want to try to gear ourselves toward. Stay to the perimeter of the store. That's where you're going to find your produce, your meats and your proteins, and then some of your dairy, which we can argue is good or bad. But that's where you want to stick, is that perimeter of the store, and try not to go down too many of those inner aisles, because those are the packaged foods that tend to be detrimental to our health. So really simplifying the food we eat and balancing our meals.
That's good. That makes sense.
I'm not saying anything because I'm so guilty of going up and down those aisles. I got nothing to say.
Are you in every ailer? Do you have to go down every aisle?
Yes, he does.
Oh, okay. One of those.
I'm in every ailer,
Yeah.
and I actually categorize my shopping list, and I do it in the
aisle.
order of the store.
It's quite frightening,
Yep.
actually.
Yeah, I'm that guy. So.
Temptation is everywhere for you then.
How is this turned into Todd's confession episode? Wait a minute. I'm going to edit all this out.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, boy.
Hey, that's
All
real
right.
life though. That's what people are really dealing with, right?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And, I like to feel that, if I can't be the after, at least I can be the before picture,
Well, here's the thing, like food and sugar is an addiction, right? It's so addictive. Sugar is so addictive. They've shown that it's more addictive than cocaine. So, if you're going to tell a drug addict like, oh, you can have, some of that on Saturday, but you can't have it the rest of the week. Does that work? No, it doesn't. Right? That doesn't really work. And it's the same thing with sugar. It's not only is it socially accepted, but it's promoted. People give you the guilt trip if you won't eat their brownies, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's so hard to kind of break the habit and break the addiction with, processed packaged foods that's all loaded with sugar because it's a true addiction. So it's not all about willpower. It really is about like strategy and accountability. And that's oftentimes why people need to meet with somebody for a while to really just hold them accountable and talk about it, to really talk it out and try to learn some new strategies because it's not just common sense. There's so much more than that.
Yeah,
That's good.
and one thing I've found out is several years ago I was diagnosed with celiac, so now totally gluten free, and people are like, oh, you must eat so healthy. I'm like, oh no, you can eat like junk gluten free too.
Yeah.
Don't-
Trust me,
yeah.
it can actually be it can be
Yeah.
even worse because most of that doesn't have any fiber in it, not
Yeah.
one lick.
Right.
Exactly.
It's you can. If you try hard enough, you can eat like junk no matter
yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So many of the gluten-free products, they're just processed corn and processed soy, which is in fact worse for you than, gluten, unless of course you have celiac. So it's like, you really got to be careful with that stuff. Anything that's labeled gluten-free, like really read into it. What am I actually eating here?
Oh yeah, it's frightening. I try not to think about it sometimes. Actually, most of the time. But actually, this kind of leads into another question that for both of you. How can we, or Kim and I, or any listener, start building habits related to a healthy lifestyle?
So change is obviously hard, and most people are really resistant to change, even if they know that it's something they should do and it's going to lead to, their benefit. But I always tell people, again, like start small and take the plane analogy, for example. So if we set the trajectory of a plane by just 1 degree at takeoff, it's going to land in a completely different spot 600 miles from here. Now, it's the same thing with us. So if we just make a few small changes today, that's going to create a completely different life for us a year from now. And then, of course, routine, like we talked about, is super important in building new habits. And you can start to incorporate that new habit or that new routine into something you already do. So it's called like habit stacking. So for example, you brush your teeth every morning, right? It's already ingrained in you. It's something we do every day. If there's something else like meditation or taking your vitamins or whatever it is you want to do, stack it onto that so that immediately after you brush your teeth, you meditate for 5 minutes or you take your supplements. And that's a great way to start to incorporate a new habit.
I like that. Habit stacking. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I love that too. I've actually never thought of it in that way. It totally makes sense. Because like I was saying, I have kind of a similar answer. I mean, that's starting small and then building off of it. And then being specific and having that plan. Like we've said, I feel like we're getting a little repetitive here. But, having that plan and having that routine every day is obviously going to help. And then also that accountability. So Valerie was saying it in her last answer, but also just having someone to talk it through, or just kind of knowing that, someone else is kind of watching is going to help you build those habits as well. While it should be a goal for yourself, sometimes just having someone else around or like know that they're involved and know what you want to achieve is just going to help as well.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now, would you say, kind of like gamifying things or I don't know, making it a game for yourself, does that help at all, do you think? Or is it's just it's kind of just another form of of habit stacking and things like that. Like it's just another way of doing it.
I think it can help. I think especially like doing a checklist, people love checklists. People love to like knock things off. So if you want to do it in like game form and make it fun, that's why people who have like a Fitbit are so successful with that, or a Peloton, because they're kind of competing with other people, right? And so, yeah, if you can kind of make it fun, it'll just checking that box for a game or some sort of accountability thing can really keep you on track.
Cool.
That's great. So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned in the past year or the past couple years?
Ooh, that is a fun one. And I kind of, it's really just having patience and grace with yourself through your goals. That same thing as what I've said is it's not linear. It's not ever going to be one straight, clear line, and it's not going to be picture perfect. So just understanding that is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, especially in this last year, with the pandemic and home workouts and, my workplace kind of closing down in that sense, is that you just have to give yourself that patience and grace while change is occurring.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. How about for you, Valerie?
Yeah. Life has been an interesting journey for me over the past few years. So I think what I've learned is that it's hard. Life is really hard, but if you really look close enough and you stay grounded, you'll really be able to see the beauty and the joy and the value in each of those lessons. So, some of my best moments and my best attributes have come from grief in times of hardship. So if you allow yourself to just kind of stay humble and pivot when things don't go your way, your eyes will be open to, much more satisfying life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Right on.
I absolutely agree. I think for us, I think it's been hard for everyone in this past year. I know that in this past year, I've actually I've grown dramatically in just the knowledge and learning new things, because you've had to pivot. And so it's just, even though it's been a hard year, it's been a year of growth. I think because, you can decide to embrace that or not embrace it.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree. I think that's really a great mindset and a great way to look at it, is to be able to be flexible and to see that silver lining, even in the hard stuff.
Yeah, I love how you said, you decide. It really is your decision. How are you going to spin this? How are you going to change things so that things work and everything works in your favor, right? And if you can look at it in that way as all personal growth, even if things, didn't go as expected, then you win no matter what.
It's a win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
So another question for both of you ladies, who or what inspires you?
Ooh, so with that, honestly, it's other people. So with being a personal trainer, just getting to know other people and getting to know their stories and learning their why, I usually get to learn a lot about that piece you were just talking about, and what people have gone through and how it's affected them, and just understanding where they're at and where they want to be and how they're going to overcome that, or what they've already overcome, is what inspires me. It's really cool that people seek others, and I'm very grateful that I get to be one of those people. And ultimately I get inspired by hearing other people's stories, and being able to be a part of their success plan is really, really awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's why we started this podcast, because we get to hear other people's stories, and every time we do one, I leave inspired. But how would you answer that, Valerie?
Yeah, so similar to Lauren, I'm always inspired by just regular people who have gone through some hard times themselves, and they've been able to be something great and give back to their community as a whole. So, a few people that inspire me would be like Sean Stevenson or Vani Hari. If you really listen to their stories, they're in the health space too. So, I listen to them all the time. And it's really impactful of how they came to be and what they started with, and the large number of people that they're now able to reach and change their lives too. So that's always super inspiring for me. The ceiling is really only as high as we set it. And that's shown time and time again. But sometimes we need that, external motivation or that person that we look to say, oh, well, how did they do it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's so true. Well, I know that we've taken up some of your time today, so we really appreciate you joining us here on the podcast. Valerie, Lauren, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and talking with us and really just giving out a lot of knowledge to people that I think is going to be very inspiring, very helpful for them. And just thank you so much for taking that time out and for sharing with us.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you guys. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be sure that we put all the contact information and people can get a hold of you either by calling or going to NXGen and setting up a consultation with you. I imagine is that how it works?
Yeah, they can do it that way. Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And so we'll have all that information in the show notes for people to call or visit online and social media links and all of that. So be sure to get in touch and to reach out to two really great people who can help you on your fitness journey. So thank you again and have a fantastic day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd and Kim.
You as well.
Thank you again to our sponsor, Fabian Oil. Be sure to contact them for all your propane and heating oil needs using the information in the show notes. And thank you for listening.